Surnames began to be used in Europe when Venetian noble families passed down a middle name from father to son in the 11th century. The growing population, the massive migrations of people of different nations and tribes, and the difficulty of communication made baptismal names insufficient. Before the 11th century, a surname, if used at all, usually represented the name of a primitive clan or tribe. But after the fall of the Roman Empire, even this rare use of the middle name was abandoned, and it was not reintroduced until almost 1,000 years later. The first three types of proper names were patronymics, such as Michael, John's son, which later evolved into Michael Johnson, trade names such as Thomas the Baker, which became Thomas Baker, and place names such as Charles at the Well, which eventually became Charles Atwell. Other, more expressive surnames eclipsed these examples by describing the character traits or habits of the family's ancestors. Drinkwater, French, Boilo, Italian, Bevilacqua, was the name used for a family member who had given up drinking. White, French, LeBlanc, Italian, Bianchi, German, Weiss, Welsh, Gwyn, usually meant that the family had a member with extremely fair skin or who had turned white prematurely. Despite the urgent need for surnames and their worldwide spread, in the 15th century many English, and practically all Irish, had no middle name. In 1465, King Edward IV decreed that all Irishmen should take an English surname of a town as Sutton, Chester, Tyrone, Scrine, Crock, Kinsale, or of a color as white, black, brown, or of a trade as smith or carpenter, or of a profession as cook or butler, and he and his descendants shall bear that surname. Each culture had its own way of assigning patronymic names. In the 15th century, the Irish adopted the prefix "o" to indicate descendant of. This was generally used to designate the grandsons of the person in question. Thus, the first O'Dwyer was the grandson of Dwyer. And David, the son of Patrick, became David Fitzpatrick, Fitz being the English form of the word for son in Old French, introduced to England by the Normans. The Italians often used the particle di, as in Di Giovanni, the Italian version of Ionescu. The Russians used the patronymic suffixes va or ici. They also used ov or ev, so that Petrov means of Peter and Ivanov means of Ivan. They often used a secondary patronymic suffix, ski or sky, to make Ivanov sky, meaning of the descendants of Ivan. The name of the great Russian novelist Fyodor Mikhailovich Dostoevsky means Fifer, son of Michael of the line of Dostoy, and says a lot about his genealogy. Other surnames arose by simply adding the consonant S to the end of the father's name. Abrahams, Clements, Edwards, Franks, Hawkins, Jacobs, Phillips, Roberts, Samuels, or Waters. At the same time, other surnames of today arose as matronymics. Nelson is Nell's son, Allison is Alice's son, Babson is Barbara's son. Apparently, there was not much misogyny in the formation of surnames.